Welcome to Hits Different.
Lee hee hee.
Hoo, 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 hoo.
I'm Ryan, and that's Molly.
In today's episode, we're going to talk about how Swifties are trying to cruel summer, fresh out the slammer, and even Jack Antonoff joined in.
And Taylor Nation posted about getting the color back into our faces, so the clown noses are back on.
And this is the longest stretch that Taylor has gone without releasing an album since Lover, which is the theme of our Tay Therapy today.
And of course, subscribe on YouTube or follow us wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And shout out to everyone who supported us on Patreon or our YouTube memberships. That is the best way to support us directly. And if you're interested, the link to that will be in the description of this episode. If you didn't see the news, Jack Antonoff participated in this Swiftie trend over the weekend. I don't know who started this, whose idea it was, but Fresh Out the Slammer was trending across many social platforms. It's moving up in the charts on streaming. The Swifties have just decided that they want to make Fresh Out the Slammer the next big thing from Tortured Poets. And Jack Antonoff tweeted about it saying, "Into the Fresh Out the Slammer thing. That is my favorite on the album."
Which is wild that we were given that information that it's his favorite song off the album, because dang, how does one even pick their favorite song out of all 31 amazing songs?
The original Tortured Poets release weekend, he tweeted about, I believe, Fresh Out the Slammer, Guilty as Sin, and potentially Down Bad, I want to say, as people were, figuring out their favorites from the album. But yeah, the fact that this has come all the way back around, we're almost a year from the release, and everyone's just decided this is going to be the thing. We're just going to stream it and until it takes the top of the charts. And it's climbing. It's climbing. It had its best streaming day on Spotify in over 4 months over the weekend.
Cruel Summer continues to hold the #1 spot on Spotify and will forever, period. Unless period. Could you imagine if it ends up locking into #2 forever? That would be fun.
That would be wild. That would be wild.
Cruel Summer, Fresh Out the Slammer, everybody else.
Yeah, I think when I say it's charting, I mean like in daily stream counts, not Taylor's overall streams, because Cruel Summer has that on lock. And in case you're like, what do I mean when I say Swifties are trying to cruel summer, Fresh Out the Slammer? So when the Lover album dropped in 2019, Cruel Summer was not a single. Years later, as the Eras tour is underway, I guess it was actually after the first full summer of the Eras tour, because it was so popular on the tour and Swifties loved it so much, it just never would fall off the charts. It just kept staying there, and it was doing so well that Taylor and Jack decided to make it a single 4 years after the Lover album came out. It officially became a radio single. So I don't think that necessarily is going to happen with Fresh Out the Slammer here. This is just more of, just another fun fan movement. Everyone just decided one day, let's just hashtag stream Fresh Out the Slammer and see if it takes off, and it did.
Could you imagine how iconic it would be if it was on the radio? They ain't ready for it. And I definitely forget that Cruel Summer wasn't a single. It's like how I forget that the 5-minute All Too Well exists. It's what do you mean there's a version that's not 10 minutes?
Wait, there was a time where Cruel Summer wasn't a single. And also Getaway Car, never a single from Rep.
Right. And as your resident clown who, Molly hangs out on the Twitter side of the Swiftum, I hang out on the TikTok side, and stuff is wild on that side, which is very fitting. So a few other side notes with this, Fresh Out the Slammer trending. One, some people are saying that if you listen to the very end of Fresh Out the Slammer, if you listen so closely, you can hear Taylor singing the lyrics from Getaway Car, just saying something I'm gonna get away car. Molly and I do not agree with this. Even while watching it, I was I literally turned it all the way up, bleeding my ears, being no.
I feel like that's just someone trying to go viral on TikTok.
Multiple
so that people keep listening
it.
to it over and over again. Wait, I don't hear it.
That's really smart. You're right, because they were head to Spotify and listen.
Wait, that's what the TikTok said?
Yeah. And guess
That's
who
exactly
did it?
what they're doing.
Oh my God, you're so
exactly
smart.
what they're doing. They're just trying to get people to listen.
Oh my God, you're so smart. And guess who fell for it?
Ryan,
Me.
that is so funny.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm glad we cracked that. All right, so there's that.
We were talking about this before the episode, and Ryan was trying to explain why TikTok was saying that, and I was like, I haven't seen this anywhere, and now we know why. You just gotta keep peeling back the layers.
I knew bringing it to the table for you would help dissect it. Okay, so there was that. If you're naive like me, we're helping the trends going up, okay?
If you listen really closely, you can hear Getaway Car.
Literally.
At the end of Fresh Out the Slammer, go listen on Spotify.
Yeah, it says in the caption, it was like, go to Spotify to listen, plug in your headphones, this and that. And I'm like... Not all of them said head to Spotify, but definitely a chunk. Anyway. All right. So there's that.
They're doing the Lord's work. So thank you for that.
The foolish ones.
No, all of our listeners, go try and listen for Getaway Car.
Yeah, go. At the very end, if you listen closely and if you keep repeating it, but you have to start the song fully over again to get to the very end to listen to it. You think that's why they were like, it's at the end. Go, because then you would assume.
Maybe.
I jumped to the end though. So does that count? I don't think that counts for the full stream. Anyway.
That's
but
hilarious.
Coincidentally, so there's that side of it. But then other people were just saying that like Fresh Out the Slammer seemed like it was like part 2 of Getaway Car. So there was still this correlation. And so I'm like, I never thought about that. And like, I know there's like the Bonnie and Clyde aspect of Getaway Car and this and that. So then I was like, let me just like look at the lyrics. And I have just a few parallels, which I find fascinating because we love when Taylor does this, where you're like, this may or may not be part 2 of the Getaway Car. So Getaway Car, the lyric, struck a match, Fresh Out the Slammer, get the matches. I'm only giving you little excerpts. We're not going to go into the whole thing. Getaway Car.
Love that.
Getaway Car, shades of gray and candlelight, Fresh Out the Slammer, gray and blue and fights in tunnels. Another lyric, in the shade of how he was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one, Getaway Car, I knew it from the first Old Fashioned, we were cursed. Fresh Out the Slammer, handcuffed to the spell I was under. So I'm just saying. Like, and there's more, obviously, again, like the Getaway Car is the Great Escape. It's the Prison Break. And then you have Fresh Out the Slammer.
The light of freedom on your face. Yeah.
You have Fresh Out the Slammer where you're like, I'm out of prison. There you go.
I love that. I love those parallels. I was seeing how people were just taking like that one specific line, gray and blue and fights in tunnels. And someone pointed out literally just that one line ties Fresh Out the Slammer to so many different songs from Rep to Tortured Poets because of Taylor's continued use of gray and blue, referencing fights and things like that. And like the tunnel reference, I think, is more about, you know, her writing about maybe like feeling trapped or like having to go underground and hiding away and blah, blah, blah. And so it's just like gray and blue and fights and tunnels. And then, yeah, to link it all back to handcuffed to the spell I was under is the next line. Those themes have carried through all of these albums. And then in Fresh Out the Slammer, she's like breaking free of them finally.
Right. And the tunnels, I'm just now realizing it's like people would talk about like assuming like that's like her fighting while in the car, driving through tunnels, whatever. And it's like in the Getaway Car, once again, like a car parallel.
See, I thought of tunnels as like hiding away rather than like drive it like a tunnel you drive through. I thought of it of like from the Great War where she says, tore your banners down, took the battle underground. Like that's what I think of. Or such as in Guilty as Sin when she says, I dream of cracking locks, throwing my life to the wolves, things like that. Just like the references of her feeling like she was hiding away.
Right. And then she talks about locks in Fresh Out the Slammer. Years of labor, locks, and ceilings. Yeah. And then in the shade of how he was feeling is giving like, so long, London, you're losing me. People do this stuff all the time and dive into it. And I'm like, I don't know why I don't enough because it's so freaking cool to be like, wow, it's just like one very, very long story.
Right. I feel like part of the reason that a lot of Swifties have always loved the song is because of the deep parallels in the lyrics. Like, here's another one for you. As I said in my letters, now that I know better, I'll never lose my baby again. Think about Evermore, writing letters addressed to the fire. The other like really, really big one that's always sent me since the song came out was the all those nights you kept me going, swirled you into all of my poems. Wait, this muse has been swirled into all of Taylor's work? What?
Once again, connecting everything. Right.
Yeah, that connects it to so many other things. She references a porch light in this song. That ties into like Cardigan and Peter. There are so many things. The wearing imaginary rings. What about paper rings? I'd marry you with paper rings. Or you're losing me, I wouldn't marry me either. And now we're referencing imaginary rings. Or in the Tortured Poets department, when she says, at dinner, you take my ring off my middle finger and put it on the one people put wedding rings on. Like, there are so many parallels. This is top tier Taylor lyricism trying in all of these different songs.
Pathological people pleaser, I wouldn't marry me either. You know, I just realized, which I'm like, I feel like maybe I realized this back when we were deep diving in Tortured Poets, but like also just the parallels within Tortured Poets. So in Fresh Out the Slammer, you have now we're at the starting line. I did my time. And then, you know where I'm going with this? In The Black Dog, she says when someone plays the starting line and you jump up and you're like, wait, it's like the So Long London duplicity of like, one is a song title, one is like just the imagery of like, now we're at the starting line, which I also equated to Getaway Car because you imagine you're like, start your engines, we're at the starting line, we're ready to take off. And I'm like,
oh, I love that.
This is so overwhelming.
Yep. Also, you know, just to poke a little fun at you, when this song first came out, the line, my friends tried, but I wouldn't hear it. I'm like, right.
Watched me daily disappearing. Yeah, for those who don't know, half of Tortured Poets is also about my breakup. So, you know, we haven't really gotten there yet, but it's just the whole thing, you know? When the album first came out, I was like, okay, okay, relax, okay.
As we talked about in our last episode, Taylor's lyrics make us feel very seen at different points in our life, and Tortured Poets provided that for Ryan for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, yeah. So, you know, we love lyric parallels. We could talk forever about this. The last Fresh Out the Slammer nugget is for anyone who, you know, has seen Anyone But You with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. The song also started trending like a week ago because people were using it for edits, equating to Sydney now being Fresh Out the Slammer because she recently ended an engagement with her fiance, and her and Glenn had undeniable chemistry in that movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's incredible. And she was just at his sister's wedding like a week ago, and people were like, she's fresh out the slammer, running back to him. You know, I love it when we take Taylor's music and we're like, let's apply this like pop culture right now. Sydney Sweeney is living Fresh Out the Slammer.
Oh, yeah.
Go off, Sydney.
For sure. Yeah, I love that too. And I at first I thought that's why it was trending, but I think maybe that like started it. And then the Swifties who have always loved Fresh Out the Slammer were like, this is our time. Like, let's get this going.
You always have the people that are like, what you know about this song? And it's like, you know,
I've been standing this song since the beginning.
Right.
And the other thing I want to say about it, while the lyrics are top tier, just the production immediately, the like, it takes you into like a deep like a Western theme.
Yeah.
And then there's a tempo change. And it's just one of those songs, you know, the gifs of people who are just like, for anyone listening, I just did a big slow-mo, like swirl around in a circle. It's like, this is one of those songs that makes me want to do that.
We both agree. It's very westernized straight out the gate. What else is like a Western? Bonnie and Clyde from Getaway Car. Bruh. You can't tell me it's not part 2 Getaway Car. That is, I traced the evidence. I made it make sense. Molly wasn't convinced in the beginning, and I was like, just hold my beer, okay? Listen to this.
No, I was confused about why they were honing in on Getaway Car, but I think we figured that one out. They just wanted to capitalize on the rep Swifties to get people to go.
It was like your classic like runaway rabbit hole where it's like I went deeper into it, and I think same thing. People were like started from being like, how do we connect this to a rep Easter egg? Which like out of all the songs, clearly people also thought there was the association, then used it for clickbait. But then it was like, wait, you're right. So someone needs to make that edit because there's no mashup right now of the two.
She did do Fresh Out the Slammer with You Are in Love, and people were reposting that as part of trying to get people to go and stream it. Just the live versions of her singing Fresh Out the Slammer on the Eras tour were stunning. The vocals were top tier. So we want to know from all of our listeners if you joined in on streaming Fresh Out the Slammer, and also what songs Swifties should maybe try next, you know, in a couple of weeks. What should we search and just listen and try and chart? Let's just keep doing it, you know? Why not?
This is where we should apply our efforts because Rep TV's never coming. So I think why not just be like, okay, we haven't had a new album in almost a year, so let's just use this energy for something else, which I'm here for it because it led me down to all these other rabbit holes than other things.
It's not only the Swifties who've been active on social over the last week. Taylor Nation was pretty busy too. They started celebrating almost a year of the Tortured Poets Department. They posted about the fact that at the time we had a fortnight left to vote for the Fortnight Challenge for the best community engagement at the Webby Awards. So at the time this episode comes out, there will be about like 6 days left of that. So we'll link to it so you can go vote for Taylor. And then the other important thing to note is that Saturday, April 12th is Record Store Day, which is an international event. If you have a record store near you, there's a chance that the Fortnite 7-inch vinyl might be there. They have not announced how many quantities or anything like that, so I'm assuming it's going to be very hard to get. Yeah.
Limited.
Taylor's done a couple of these Record Store Day releases before, and they're always in such high demand. I'm not going to lie. Part of me is like, do I even try? Like, every time I've tried, I've pretty much failed. But if you guys go and you get one, please let us know. Tag us on our social media at @ItHitsDiffPod. You can find us anywhere: Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. We want to know if you get it. We'll let you know if we get it, if we have to fight the Great War and hopefully come out successful with that Fortnite vinyl.
It's like Black Friday all over again.
For real.
Do they ever sell the Record Store Day vinyl online eventually?
Mm-mm.
No?
It's literally an in-person only.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. And the final sus thing that Taylor Nation did in the last week was this post where they said, now that spring has finally sprung, the department has assembled a list of suggested activities to start getting color back into your face. They go on to list a bunch of different lyrics, and they're using these as these activities. So here are the first two. Dance in your dress in the sun, and watch your neighbor's wife water flowers. Then they went on to say, tell us what else is on your tortured spring agenda. Ryan, what was on your clown radar after they posted this?
They posted 5 other lyrics after that that equated to spring activities, which, by the way, most of these aren't real activities that anyone would ever actually do, but that's okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, trying to use lyrics.
No, I know. I'm just saying. So it's like, if we want to say like add to the susness, it's like, okay. Anyway, reaching, intentional, all the stuff. So I saw this list. I texted it to Molly and I was like, so obviously the first thing I'm going to do is match the lyrics to the track number and the song title, which is what a lot of other people did. That first one, But Daddy I Love Him, is track 6, which, you know, if anyone knows what 6 equates to, that would be Reputation being the 6th album. The next one is a lyric from Fortnite, which I didn't think about this, but that is track number 1, which could be Debut.
Is she giving us the order?
That's what I was thinking.
The way the re-records are going to go, we're going to get Rep first
100%.
and then Debut last, because she did this same thing in like with the Karma Coffee Cup, right? Like the blue nail and then the black nail. 100%. This is what's coming next. And same with like hints back from the Midnight's era for like Speak Now, and then 1989 would be after that. Like, she's done this before. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't given it enough time because I almost feel like this is like, is this the manuscript? Is this it? Is this what we've been waiting for? Because Taylor Nation's been doing weird stuff for months now that we've been deep diving, and it's kind of just been all like, yeah, what does it mean? Like the other week it was Robin lyrics and we're like, I don't understand. Coincidentally, one of the lyrics on here equates to the song Robin. So there's like a lot that you could pull out of it. The other notable fact is that they do 2 different lyrics from How Did It End, which is track 21. And so that's very interesting because then it's like, okay, I guess if we wanted to look at it, it's like, is 21 the Easter egg of the date? There's 1 month with the 21st being on a Friday, which is when Taylor usually announces, like drops albums, not usually, every time, midnight going into Friday.
Yeah, like every artist drops their new albums on Fridays due to the way that like the cycle for charts works. The week starts on like a Friday for the charts.
Right. So that would be in November, which is interesting.
November 21st.
November 21st. And so then you could say, okay, she listed How Did It End twice. So you have Reputation, you have Debut. Are we getting Debutation? 2 on the 21st. That just came to me like right now.
So then you just ignore all the other numbers and we just
no, I think they mean something. Like the announcement could be one of those dates because we have the 19th, the Albatross, and then we have the 23rd, I Hate It Here, which we know we've seen a ton of association with that with Taylor Nation, talking about Secret Gardens, which we had a whole deep dive in past episodes. So I Hate It Here being on there is very sus. And then we have Robin, which is track 30, which they just posted a whole thing about. I think this will be declassified later. And we're going to look back and be like, wow, boom, boom, there it is. Yep. But 6 being the first, come on.
When you first told me like the first thing I'm going to do is go and line these up with the track numbers, I literally like rolled my eyes. And then as soon as I saw that it was like 6 and then 1, I'm like, wow, all right, smart way to start.
Right? And of course I added it all up because you always got to do the math. It didn't come out to I can't remember what the number came out to, but then I was like, how about for once, if we've learned anything from clowning for 50 years, we take it, just scale it back like just a little bit. It's like Taylor does do Easter eggs with track titles and numbers and all that stuff. It doesn't always have to add up to things, right? So she gave us 6, 1, and these other numbers that have a pattern and things. And like, that's it. We don't need to add them all up and divide by 5.
Oh, you know what else? 21 is 12 reversed.
That's
what
I thought too. I know.
So.
I thought the same thing. I was like, it's mirrored. So there's stuff there. Once again, come on. It's like almost, the year's almost halfway over. Like, I don't, or it could be 6-1, could be like June.
Such an exaggerator. The year's halfway over. We just finished Q1. Calm down. Okay?
Q1. For all those corporate peeps out there, Q1 just wrapped.
Don't write off my year. We're not in June.
I know, you're right. If anyone out there sees any other parallels, any other connections in this track list that wasn't a track list to start with, just a bunch of lyrics, let us know. As a person, one of the people on TikTok says, clowning is a group project, and it really is.
Yeah, I can't wait to see all of your theories about this Taylor Nation post, because if you haven't checked out our comments on YouTube, people come through with some really smart stuff. So let us know in the comments. Like I referenced at the beginning of this episode, we are now officially in the longest stretch between album releases since Lover dropped in August of 2019, which is wild to say. For 6 years, Taylor has released albums literally less than a year apart over and over again. Whether that's a new album or a re-record, a mass amount of work. So with that in mind, we have some Tay Therapy submissions that were stories that were specifically about things that happened to these submitters on Lover release day. So instead of waiting till August, I figured let's share these now.
Our first submission comes from Tyler, who says, "Hey Ryan and Molly, my Tay Therapy, hee. Love that.
Love it.
Intro shout out. Love it. If you know, you know.
Thanks, Tyler.
Story happened on August 23rd, 2019, aka the Lover album release day. My husband and I had gotten into a small fight about something trivial, something I don't even remember today. I recall getting frustrated and telling myself I needed to get out of the house, get some fresh air, and think. I found myself at a park in town that had a long, winding walking path. I decided to follow the path and listen to Taylor's new album to get my mind off things. I went through the album once in full and had realized I'd only given it about 50% of my attention. The other 50% was thinking about what had transpired between my husband and I. I listened to the album again, this time really paying attention and reading the lyrics. Then I got to Afterglow.
The lyrics, "Hey, it's all me in my head. I'm the one who burned us down, but it's not what I meant. Oh my God, she wrote this about me." Tyler goes on with the other lyrics. "I'm sorry that I hurt you. I don't want to do this to you. I don't want to lose this with you." Tyler says, "I was a casual Taylor fan since debut, turned Swiftie during the Red era, but this was the first time that Taylor had written a song that resonated with me that intensely. A brand new Taylor song, listening to it for the first time while I was in an emotional state. Her lyrics addressing the thoughts I was feeling feeling at the same time that I was listening to the song. As I finished the song, I was coming to the realization that the fight between my husband and I was not a big deal, and it was something we could easily talk about and get over. I felt like Taylor was telling me, it's okay, go home and work it out with him. Every time I hear that song, I think of him and the day I walked 3 miles in the park. This year, we're celebrating 12 years together. Take care and love to all the Swifties. With the hand heart emoji. Tyler, thank you so much for submitting that. I know you're a long time listener as well, so thank you for just being a part of our pod community. Afterglow is a song that I know Ryan and I both super relate to as well.
Yeah, when I saw the submission and the mention of Afterglow, I was like, all right. It may or may not be my favorite song on Lover. Probably is. I feel like it's so underrated. It's a very like, if you know, you know. And this song packs a punch. And I also love how your submission ends with a happy ending. You know, we get into it. It's a lot of the time, and a lot of us have been through it. And you went through it and got through it. And you're still happily together. And I love that for you. And it also sounds like it was the time that like Taylor's music for the first time really resonated, like you said. So it's like a double memory.
She was speaking to you in that moment. Go back and tell him, hey, I'm sorry. You know, that's one of the things I've always loved about the lyrics to that song. And Taylor's music, there's a lot of songs where she wants an apology, right? And that is one of the songs where she's like, hey, this one's on me. This fight was on me. I'm sorry that I did this. I wasn't trying to hurt you. And I think Ryan and I both talk about this a lot. We're just two very blunt and opinionated people. And sometimes we might accidentally rub someone we love the wrong way because of just our manner of speaking. And sometimes you just got to be like, whoa, sorry, that didn't come out the way that I meant for it to. That's on me. We actually used to have this joke, remember, where it'd be like, that's on me, bro. That's on me.
That's on me. My bad. That's on me.
My bad.
That's on me. As a chaotic girly myself, yeah, this song makes me feel seen, like all of her music, but like in a different way of like, you know, like when she says, even when I lose my mind, I need to say, tell me that it's not my fault. Tell me that I'm all you want. It's like, okay, like I'm losing it, but like, please, like, tell me that like you're okay with this. And like, you know, you do still love me, even though I kind of went off the rails there. And I need to say like, hey, it's all me in my head. I'm like, that is me on a daily basis, as Molly knows, with like friends, relationships, all of it. It's just me inserting this in between me and the other person. And Afterglow really just dives into it and gives like a really unique perspective that's a little different than a lot of Taylor's songs. Solid choice, Tyler. Love Afterglow.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting that you happened to hear this song on the day that you really needed it the most, on the Lover release day, and that you realized like, I'm only half listening to this because I'm stressed out. Let me really listen. And then you listened and you got the blueprint for how to like fix the problem. And with Tyler's submission and with the next one, it's just interesting to me that both of these specifically referenced the Lover album release day and how important things happen in their lives that make them remember that release day so clearly. I had a really big event at work the day that Lover dropped, and I couldn't listen to the album until like 3 a.m. when I was on my way home. It was probably one of my craziest work days ever. And I remember being in the car and listening to Cruel Summer for the first time, and I was like, my heart stopped. I was like, what is this song? Went home, literally woke Alex up. I was like, you have to hear Cruel Summer. And he was like, Molly, it's 3 a.m. I'm like, I don't care. So anyway, I remember the Lover album release date so specifically for that reason. And the next submission is another very specific life moment that Monique remembers.
Monique says, back in 2019, I was in a trial run for a job that didn't work out for me. The Lover album came out the same day I was given a choice: stick it out with the job or walk away from it. I decided on the latter. The song Death by a Thousand Cuts felt very apropos as it played while I was driving home from the job I decided to walk away from. I asked the traffic lights if it'll be all right. They say, I don't know. Death by a Thousand Cuts. It's pretty wild that you made this potentially life-changing decision on a day that the Lover album came out, and then you heard Death by a Thousand Cuts, and it basically validated your feelings and your actions. And with the lyric, like, I asked the traffic lights if it'll be all right, and they say, I don't know. Maybe I made the right decision. And obviously, you know, that was now 6 years ago. So I hope that it did all work out. And I'm going to guess that based on the submission that, you know, you probably did make the right decision.
It's so interesting when songs like this can relate to so many different things going on in life. That song might be written about a breakup, but saying goodbye to a job can also feel like death by a thousand cuts. And literally the line, I asked the traffic lights if it'll be all right, they say, I don't know, is so brilliant, because how many people are deep in thought, like at a stoplight, and they just look up. And now every time I see like stoplights, I'm like, I don't know the different lights, you know? I don't know.
I never thought of it that way. Wow.
For anyone who's listening on audio, I'm like showing there's 3 lights and a traffic light. Ask the traffic lights if it'll be all right. They say, I don't know. And then it's like green and you have to go.
I've had many talks with myself while driving and listening to Tay.
Thank you so much for submitting that, Monique and Tyler. We are just loving all of the Tay Therapy submissions that we've been getting. We have many more to share in future episodes. And if you want to share yours, the information for how to do that is in the description of this episode.
Next week, we are really excited because we're celebrating 1 year of the Tortured Poets Department, which is wild because it really never gets old, and 1 year is still not enough.
1 year later, and we're just now dissecting Fresh Out the Slammer on the pod. So there's still so much to unpack with that album, and we will give it its proper birthday celebration next week. So make sure to subscribe on YouTube or follow us wherever you're listening to your podcast so that you don't miss that. And we're also